Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me call to order the Planning Commission meeting for June 21st, 2010. If I might ask our Ventura County Clerk of the Court elected and also Planning Commissioner, Mr. Mark Lunn, if he'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Lung, and congratulations. Okay, will the recording secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Adam?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher? Absent. Commissioner Lunn?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Chair Grumney?
Here. Now is the time for public comment. At this time, any person may address the Commission on any matter that is not on this evening's agenda. Should the Commission wish to discuss an issue raised by the member of the public, the issue will be referred to staff for scheduling on a future agenda. We have one speaker card this evening, Mr. Nick Kidway.
I begin in the name of God, who is most beneficial, most merciful. My name is Nick Iqbal Kidwai, and last time I checked, still Director of Concerned Citizens of Thousand Oaks. Honorable Chair Grumney, Planning Commissioners. It's wonderful to see this chamber filled, not to capacity, but almost, with young people, with educators. One of the reasons that I stand here is twofold. One is that this is not the norm for this chamber. Only about a dozen people or less show up to the meetings. And as a division manager of the Planning Commission on his last meeting counted all the bulbs, I don't have the time. At that time there were 281 bulbs, that's what he counted. Energy source, I mean, we should not waste taxpayer money. And once again, I asked you that for most of your meetings, when you have a perfectly usable television-ready chamber on the other side called the boardroom, that you should meet there and not waste taxpayer funds and energy. I mean, it's just unconscionable that in this day and age, when we have the energy crisis, when we have what's happening in the Gulf, that you would continue to not make a change. It's disheartening that despite saying the same things again and again, it takes years for the government or the Planning Commission or the city to change. One of the building blocks of democracy is the agenda is the public participation, it's minutes. And it's unbelievable and disgraceful, and I use the word very carefully, disgraceful, that the minutes of every body in this chamber, in this city, do not even meet the basic criteria. And if TOTV would be kind enough to show the overhead, which is the draft minute from your last meeting, this is the list of the speakers that spoke on a very important issue, which was the overexpansion, and I use the word guardedly, overexpansion of the local hospital in the central Thousand Oaks area. All it has is names of the people that spoke, and it says pro and against, pro and con. Not even one sentence as to what they said. In fact, I looked at the minutes of the CLU hearing, which are on the website for the stadium, and they are normal minutes. If you look at the minutes in this city, up until 5 years ago, used to be normal. In fact, the minutes are about 7 pages that go into the conditions and the verbosity of what the planning commissioner said in the findings. 7 pages. But you don't have the time, and you don't want to take the time to write what the citizens who came and participated said. In fact, there's a legal liability on these things. And I came, put my card in, but I had to go to the airport, so I left. And the wonderful chair called my name and said, I think Mr. Kidwai has left. My name doesn't appear. It's a legal thing. I mean, if for some reason where was I? I was not in, as far as the minutes are concerned, I was not in the chamber. Why is it not there? Because, I mean, the citizens' part is so unimportant. You would not put in that when the card was called, the speaker failed to appear. That's what is the norm. I hope you will, with the audience in attendance, somebody will come and tell them that, hey, live up to the wonderful tradition that is Thousand Oaks. Live up to the tradition of the university that stays that's over here. Live up to the tradition of the teachers and the provosts that have come over here, and make us proud of our city government. Thank you for letting me speak. Have a wonderful evening, and good luck to all the people in purple.
Thank you, Mr. Kidwai. I did not mention, and I should have, is that if anyone here in attendance would like to either make a comment or speak to the case that's coming up this evening, there are speaker cards and comment cards that are at the table at the front. The white cards are for speaker, and the blue are for comment cards. And if you'd like to fill one out, you need to give it to the recording secretary, and then we can either record your comments or have you call up to speak. Okay. Mr. Shepherd, are there any announcements or continuances that you'd like to make at this time?
Yes, Madam Chair. For the record, we have a supplemental packet tonight that includes letters of comment on the case that you'll be hearing tonight, and then also on your dais was an additional letter that came in after the supplemental packet was published, and copies of the supplemental packet and the additional letter are with the copy of the agenda and the staff report that's on the sign-in table out front. And that's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. Will the secretary please call case 6A?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 6A regarding case SUMJ 2010-70134. Applicant, California Lutheran University. Request to consider a negative declaration and allow construction of a football stadium consisting of 2,000 fixed seats, scoreboard, 70-foot high clock tower, art gallery, overflow parking areas, artificial turf, on-building and monument signs, associated parking lot and landscaping improvements, and allow stadium light standards with an increase in height from 60 feet to 100 feet pursuant to the previous approval in the California Lutheran University Master Plan for a football stadium in the North Campus area. Location, north side of Olson Road, approximately 500 feet of Campus Drive, 160 Overton Court.
Thank you very much. The staff report this evening is given by Ms. Pam Leopold from the Community Development Department. Good evening, Ms. Leopold.
Good evening, Chair Grumney and members of the Commission. Staff has prepared a PowerPoint presentation for your consideration this evening. The applicant's request is to approve the negative declaration number 279, construct a football soccer stadium with artificial turf, 2,000 fixed seats, scoreboard, 6 flagpoles, larger size pennants, a 70-foot high clock tower, and an art gallery. There is also an increase in height from 60 feet to 103 feet, which is mounting height for the stadium light standards. In addition, the applicant is requesting to install 2 on-building and 2 monument signs and provide temporary overflow parking on a grass field for approximately 460 vehicles during special events such as graduation during daylight hours. Also install phased parking and landscaping in accordance with the CLU master plan. This aerial shows the location of the proposed stadium. Currently, there is an existing practice field at this location, and it's east of the Gilbert Sports and Fitness Center and located west of the existing riparian area. The current stadium is located on the south campus and south of the existing chapel. This particular slide shows a site plan of the proposed stadium. It's a reverse L shape, and currently requested is a 12-foot high wall on the south side of the stadium, closest to Olson Road, and this particular wall also incorporates a scoreboard of approximately 35 feet. The light standards in question, there's 3 light standards on the west side, which are at 103 feet mounting height, and on the west side of the stadium, there are 3 proposed light standards of 80 feet in height. The project design involves a stadium measuring 16,000 square feet. The first floor includes an art gallery, restrooms, lockers, storage, whirlpool and taping, and electrical rooms. The second floor includes a VIP area, the press room, meeting rooms, and also a coach's offices. There are 6 flagpoles, 2 at 42 feet high and 4 at 32 feet high. The larger size pennants are proposed for the 32-foot high flagpoles. And the clock tower is a landmark feature for California Lutheran University campus. The project design continued, and the installation of the stadium light standards, 3 at 80 feet high and 3 at 103 feet high, is the increase is needed from the approved 60-foot high, which is needed for the National Collegiate Athletic Association. The on-building signs are for the art gallery and the stadium, and they will meet the sign code standards. The monument signs needed for North Campus are the northeast corner of the Olson campus intersection, and a monument sign which will provide identification and direction near Campus Drive. Originally, 2 monument signs were proposed or were approved for North Campus, but due to identification need on South Campus, these 2 signs were transferred to the South Campus through administrative entitlements. This is a view of the proposed stadium and light standards rendering. Also, the proposed elevation showing the 70-foot high clock tower and the 12-foot high wall along the south side of Olson with the incorporated scoreboard. This slide shows looking east from Campus Drive and Olson Road, existing conditions. And this particular slide shows the proposed view looking east from Campus Drive and Olson Road with the stadium lights, the stadium itself, and the clock tower. This particular slide is looking west from Mount Clef Boulevard and Olson Road, existing conditions. And this slide shows the proposed view looking west from Mount Clef and Olson, again with the clock tower and the stadium lights. Also, you can see the chapel on the south side, which is approximately 82 feet. It's 75 feet in height plus 7 feet to the top of the cross for a total height of 82 feet. The environmental review, the negative declaration and initial study are adequate and complete. They're prepared in compliance with CEQA, Section 15162, and no significant unavoidable environmental effects have been identified that require mitigation. The light standard requirements, the stadium lighting involves minimum and evenly distributed illumination required for safety. It depends on the type of sport activity. In this case, it's football and soccer. No shadows or spillage or trespass of light, and distinguished colors are needed, and also follow the path of the ball. The height of the proposed standards depends on the type of lamps and the wattage, and essentially we're looking at the guidelines of Illuminating Engineering Society of North America, the IESNA. The staff's evaluation of the proposed lighting, we looked at the proposed standards, which will provide a minimum horizontal 100-foot candles at 3 feet above the field per the IESNA, and also 80-foot candles approximately at 50-foot high for aerial or for vertical illuminance. The light shields with these particular standards will incorporate shields to direct illumination downward to minimize glare and to the surrounding areas. And there are sharp qualities, cutoff features at the property lines and riparian area. We looked at the fact that Olson Road will have less than a foot candle of light at that area, and same at the riparian area. The parking, essentially, that we evaluated in the 2003 shared parking analysis, approximately 931 spaces were required for North Campus. The community pool required 33. That was processed as a major modification. And in 2007, the shared parking study showed adequate parking to accommodate the stadium. In addition, on South Campus, there are 364 spaces that are accessed via shuttle or the pedestrian bridge. The applicant's also asking for temporary overflow parking, and this is for special events such as graduation or home football games. The applicant is proposing 2 areas, the north central area accessed by Campus Drive, also the east area above the tennis courts accessed by Mount Clef and Olson. Staff had looked at these areas and evaluated them. Staff is proposing a suggested condition number 3 to centralize all the temporary overflow parking in the north central area. Eventually, permanent parking is planned for that area. Staff recommendation is to approve the final negative declaration number 279 and SUMJ 2010-70134, subject to the findings and the suggested conditions detailed in the report. This concludes staff's report. For questions, we also have Greg Smith from our planning division and Beth Baden and Larry Tay from the traffic division. Thank you.
Questions of staff? Commissioner Adam.
Thank you. Hi, Ms. Leopold.
Hello.
Just a couple areas I want to go over with you, if I may. On the temporary parking that you just mentioned, the
Yes.
North Central
Yes.
lot, So staff's recommending you just use that one lot versus the one over near McAfee?
We're asking that the applicant combine both of the temporary parking overflow areas into one area and centralize all of the temporary overflow parking into the north central area. So that lot will be enlarged to accommodate approximately 460 vehicles.
Okay, and that was going to be my next question. And so it won't in fact be 231, it'll be
460.
460. Okay. And I presume that's to take the pressure off McAfee a little bit?
That's to minimize some of the traffic circulation for that area. It was proposed. This is not something that's already existing. And then to locate the temporary parking where the existing permanent parking will be located in the north central area.
Okay. So we will have the 460 spaces, but they'll all be located in the north central.
That's correct.
All right. You know, on the map, I noticed there's a designated DG path coming out of that north central area, and it looks like it's heading into the riparian corridor. That's not going to be for any kind of pedestrian use or anything, is it?
It currently is a pedestrian use. There is a bridge there over the riparian area.
Oh, there's a bridge there?
Yes, a footbridge.
Okay.
It's easily accessible.
All right. Okay, so nobody's going to be walking down into the riparian.
I certainly hope not.
Okay, that's good. Just want to be clear on that. Just one other question has to do with the intersection there, McAfee and Overton, and I know there's been some perennial congestion there. And if I read the staff report correctly, was there in fact a meeting with the homeowners on June 14th?
There was a meeting between California Lutheran University and the North Oaks Homeowners Association.
Yeah. On the 14th?
I'm not certain of that date, but I'll check it. I believe that letter may be in the negative declaration document. Perhaps Greg Smith might want to review your concerns.
Okay. I don't know if the letter in there referred to that particular meeting. I was just trying to find out if there'd been any new developments as far as the university and North Oaks HOA as far as that intersection.
Mr. Adams, I'll respond briefly. We have spoken with the applicant. They indicated that they did, in fact, have a meeting with the North Oaks Homeowners Association regarding the issues that were raised in their letter, which is included in the MND. I believe it's probably appropriate for both the university and if there's a representative from North Oaks to provide more information regarding that meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to hear about that. So perhaps a representative from North Oaks will be here tonight and can address that. Just one other thing. There was some talk about a traffic study for that area. Has anything come of that? Maybe Ms. Baden would know about that.
The HOA did submit a letter commenting on the negative declaration, and the points that they raised in their letter were addressed in a memo that I prepared for the negative declaration. And it addresses the traffic concerns that they had at the intersection.
Just out of curiosity, has there ever been any discussion about an entry to the sports facility parking lot from Olson versus Mount Clef?
The master plan was approved with the access that was envisioned to serve the university over time. So we're following through the original access plan that was provided. An intersection of a driveway onto Olson Road would be mid-block between the signals that we currently have at campus and at Montclair. City standard is quarter-mile spacing between signals, so a driveway could be provided, right turn in, right turn out. This is a controlled access road, and it really is preferred to control the access through the traffic signals that have already been installed.
Okay.
If if I could just add something to the discussion. When we were looking at the original master plan for the North Campus, there's a significant amount of parking located on the South Campus directly opposite the sports facilities, including this particular stadium. And it was always proposed at that point that that would serve as the primary parking area for access to the football stadium, as well as these other sports venues fronting Olson Road. So that was in our mind when we reviewed this particular plan. I think the university will speak to that this evening, that they're really the most convenient parking and the most direct parking is located on the South Campus. There also is a grade difference between Olson Road and this area, which makes a driveway particularly infeasible in this area.
Mm-hmm. Not practical.
Not practical.
And just one other quick thing. There was some talk about synchronization of lights at the two intersections at Mount Clef and Campus. Has that been looked at all as far as relieving some of the congestion at McAfee?
One of the points that the Homeowners Association raised is the amount of time that it takes them to get out of their complex and out onto Olson Road. Mm-hmm. And city staff would like to go out to the signals at Olson and Montclair and also Olson at Campus and redo the computer programming that's in the signal computer, basically, so that it will detect the longer queues that happen during periods of special events, and it can add more green time to the southbound approach to the signals and clear the special event traffic sooner. So mm-hmm. City staff will take care of that as we go through the next couple of weeks.
Okay. All right, good. Well, then something like that can be done to mitigate that problem there then. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any additional questions? I have a couple, Ms. Leopold. If you could state for the record who was noticed, what the distance was from the project.
Notice was posted with large public notice signs on McAfee, near McAfee. It was probably north of McAfee along Mount Clef on the side of the project, on the west side of that particular street. Also on the corner of Campus and Olson on the project site, there was a large public notice sign. And further, there was, I believe, another sign. I'm trying to remember whether there are 2 or 3 large signs. We try and maximize our signage. There was also a written notification sent to all property owners within 500 feet of the project boundaries, which essentially is North Campus in its entirety, not just the location where the stadium is proposed. And homeowners associations within the area were also notified.
Not too long ago, we approved the CRPD pool area that was in conjunction with Cal Lutheran. How does the height of the lights compare with those other 2 facilities?
I just need a moment to pull up that information.
If I might, I can probably address that issue because we've provided a table in the negative declaration. It really has a pretty comprehensive list of similarly lighted facilities, sports facilities, including the community pool. And at the Samuelson's Aquatic Center, there are 6 50-foot poles and there are 4 30-foot poles. You know, the lighting for this facility is lower. The size of the facilities are smaller. They don't require the type of extensive lighting or the vertical illumination that's required with the football stadium. So the distance to the closest residential property line is about, for the Samuelson Aquatic Center, is 260 feet. With the proposal that we're viewing tonight, we have also provided that information. Just a second here.
Let me jump in and just say that the foot candle illumination for the center of the pool was only 30 foot candles, so it was a lot less lighting that was required by the IESNA rather than for horizontal and aerial play with regard to a football soccer field.
And with regard to the distance between the closest residential home, it's 400 feet away for this particular facility, so it's not quite half, again, as far away, but it's, again, the light spillover from these light standards is very minimal. Measured at 30 feet from the edge of the playing field, it's only 30 foot candles. As you get further away at 100 feet, it goes down to less than 1 foot candle, and that is equivalent to normal street lighting. Again, that's at 100 feet. The closest residential home here is 400 feet away. So there's really no significant light glare or spillover into these residential areas.
Could I also do a follow-up, Mr. Smith? Is it true that the taller light facilities actually have less spillover than the lower?
That's correct, and the principal reason that is true is because the light standard themselves are actually focused more toward the ground. Instead of the shorter the pole, it has the angle of the actual fixture decreases, and as it decreases to spread light across the field, you get larger shadows and you get more light leaving the play fields and spilling over into other areas. So the taller the light standard and the more downward the illumination, the more effectively it lights the field and the less spillover you have from that facility.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the applicant, who will have 15 minutes. The applicant this evening is California Lutheran University, who's represented by Mr. Chris Kimball and Ms. Valerie Crooks. We'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and get set up, and if you could let me know. And prior to speaking, if you could state your name and city of residence for our record. So I'll just wait for you to signal me when he has this presentation set up. Okay, are we ready to go? Okay, again, your name and city of residency. You'll have 15 minutes.
Thousand Oaks, and proud to be president of Cal Lutheran University. I want to thank you for holding this session on our proposal regarding the William Rowland Stadium. Rowland Stadium is an important element in completing our approved master plan, and it allows us to fulfill our promise to provide a long-awaited football stadium, replacing a temporary, outdated facility with one that better serves the needs of our students. I should say that at Cal Lutheran, our educational experience is built around educating and training mind, body, and soul, and so having
high-quality athletic facilities for our students and for future students is very important. And I want to emphasize, too, that while this is a football stadium, it will also serve the many, many students at Cal Lutheran engaged in other forms of athletic activity. About 40% of our students are involved in sports, whether intercollegiate, intramural, or club. And we're all very grateful to Mr. Bill Rowland for his capturing of the vision of providing a high-quality facility to serve all of these students. In addition to following the approved master plan, Rowland Stadium is also consistent with the goals of our strategic plan, among them investing in facilities and infrastructure that enhance the university, in recruiting, retaining, and graduating a well-prepared, diverse student body, and in developing leadership capacity that fosters excellence. And we believe that this project will enable us to do all three of those things. Cal Lutheran also understands that it needs to be a good citizen and neighbor. We're proud of the contributions we make to the intellectual, educational, and cultural life of Thousand Oaks. And we're also glad of the economic impact that we have. We had a recent study of our economic impact from numbers a couple years old now showing that we produce at least 140 million or more of economic activity, provide 1,400 jobs, and $20-some million in tax revenues. So we're proud of all those contributions, but we also understand that our success is due to our location in this great city, and we want to preserve its attractive qualities as well. And so as I conclude and turn things over to Valerie Crooks, I wanted to thank our neighbors and the city for their work, for their input in helping us sharpen the proposal and do as much as we can to enhance not only the university but the city of Thousand Oaks.
Chair Grumney, members of the Commission, my name is Valerie Crooks, Senior Project Manager with CLU, 60 West Olson Road, Thousand Oaks. The Rowland Stadium will be a multi-use facility featuring the William Rowland Art Gallery, football team facilities, and a 70-foot clock tower. It will have 2,000 fixed seats in the bleacher structure with additional capacity added as required through portable bleachers. The artificial turf field is sized for NCAA football and the minimum size NCAA soccer field. CLU plays at the Division III level with no athletic scholarships. It will have the latest generation Musco field lighting. Musco is a well-known leader in its field and is currently in use on several of the CRPD fields here in the city. The plaza areas between the Rowland Stadium and the Gilbert Sports and Fitness Center will be completed in this phase of construction. The plaza area will be used extensively for university events and gatherings such as seated lunches and dinners under temporary tent structures. Therefore, the plaza areas have been planned with decorative paving and planters and tree wells arranged to specifically define activity areas. The majority of the plaza areas are open to allow space for the events. Although not planned as a LEED certified building, the Rowland Stadium will have a number of green building features. The artificial turf field dramatically reduces CLU water consumption. Energy-efficient HVAC units run only when areas are occupied. The building will be connected to our campus-wide energy management systems for lighting and HVAC. The field lighting will be designed to allow us to use partial lighting levels for certain uses to reduce our energy consumption. Operable windows and programmable thermostats in each room are our campus standard. The building will also incorporate a number of other standard green building features and the inclusion of 12 bicycle racks and a robust construction waste recycling program. The native grassed overflow parking areas are in keeping with the low-impact development strategies that are coming about through the new permitting process and will provide for stormwater runoff reduction and treatment at the source. The university held a number of neighborhood meetings in 2010 for this project. The project was presented at our regular quarterly neighbor meeting on March 23rd. We noticed and held a project-specific community outreach meeting on May the 11th. After we determined that we had inadvertently dropped the McAfee Court condos from our 500-foot radius mailing database, we held a separate meeting with the North Oaks HOA board members on June the 14th to discuss their particular traffic concerns. The Neighbors and Visitors webpage on the CLU website provides notices of upcoming quarterly neighbor meetings, posts the meeting minutes for the record, and provides contact information for the university. It also provides information on current projects and the CLU master plan. We currently have 2,305 paved parking spaces on the campus, of which 550 paved spaces are located on North Campus. We're building an additional 18 paved spaces west of the tennis courts at the area shown in the orange. We're providing overflow parking for 460 cars, which we've agreed with city staff to locate north of the riparian corridor in the central area. This will bring our total available parking on North Campus to 1,028 parking spaces. We're proposing overflow parking due to the limited number of high-demand dates that we have. For example, we only have 5 home football games per year. The Roland Stadium is a replacement for the existing 1,700-seat Mount Clef Stadium on South Campus, which does not have any dedicated parking. The students walk from their residence halls to the games and will be expected to continue to do so under our parking management plan that we have in place. Visitors currently park on North Campus in the Gilbert lot and in the administration lot on South Campus. The project is not expected to significantly increase traffic and parking impacts in the neighborhoods. We are proposing the Musco light structure green lighting for the field. Our goal is to obtain a well-lit vertical cube of light over the field for multi-directional aerial sports such as football and soccer. The pole heights have to increase due to the setbacks required from the field of play. We're planning to have 3 poles set into the bleacher structure, which will each be 100 feet high, with the luminaires mounted at 103 feet. On the west side of the field, we'll have 3 poles which are 80 feet high. The field lighting as designed will provide up to 95 horizontal foot candles on average over the field versus the minimum NCAA standard of 75 foot candles. We will provide 45 to 88 foot candles on the field, and the minimum NCAA standard is 45 foot candles. Player safety requires that the ball can be tracked along its trajectory, which for a punted ball can reach 90 feet at the apex. Vertical illumination is more critical for player safety, and it equals higher pole heights. Our practices and games must be filmed according to the NCAA requirements, and the film provided to our opponents to level the playing field. The filming requires higher and more uniform light levels over the field. The Musco lighting system is noted for its advanced design and shielding to direct lighting to the field. Musco has done a number of studies to look at glare at a residence located a nominal 150 feet away from a field. Their studies indicate that as the fixture mounting height is reduced, the resulting impact on off-site areas increases. The glare increases 54% at 150 feet from the field for a light located at 60 feet high. The lighting visibility from the distance is greatly increased, and it produces that sky glow effect that we get complaints on with respect to our parking lots. The quality of the lighting on the field is reduced, and the vertical cube above the field is not evenly lit. However, the light glare is reduced by over 25% as you take your poles up to 80 feet, and it gets reduced even further for the poles at 100 feet. It's much better for the surrounding community to have the 100-foot and 80-foot lights than the 60-foot lights that we are entitled for. The Roland Stadium is located as far away from the nearby residences as possible on the North Campus. The distance from the field to the nearest receptor is 700 feet to the nearest residence in University Village. It's over 1,400 feet to the nearest residence in Ridgecrest, and it's 1,100 feet to the nearest residence on Mount Clef Boulevard. The nearest residences are located at least twice as far away from the stadium as the comparable CRPD facilities with 90 to 100-foot lights. Musco provided us with modeling results for the lights on the field. The riparian corridor's greatest impact is along about 60 feet, located closest to the corner with the pole, at the F6 pole. The modeled light levels along here range from 4 to 6.8 foot candles and drop off rapidly to between 0 and 0.25 from that point. The modeled light levels along the edge of the riparian corridor closest to the University Village development are 0.05-foot candles, or essentially zero. For comparison, moonlight is measured at 0.25-foot candles. Similarly, the lights cut off at the property line along Olson Road, with light levels down to 0.5-foot candles. The next slides show you computer simulations of the stadium lights as seen from various locations in the community. The first slide shows you the view looking from the First Drive entrance into University Village. The second slide shows the view as seen from the Ridgecrest community. This shows you the stadium lights as seen from the intersection of Mount Clef Boulevard and Alamar Street. And the final slide shows you the stadium lights and Olson Road. The overwhelming question that came out of our community meetings was really, what is the use of this field going to be? And the answer is, the majority is CLU use. The primary users will be football and soccer. Football could play afternoon or evening games on a Saturday. Soccer expects to schedule more games in the evening hours to allow family members to attend and reduce conflicts with class schedules. And it will provide more flexibility for visiting teams to travel to CLU for a game. We'll have predominantly academic class use in the mornings. CLU intramural use is predominantly Sunday through Thursday later in the evening. And club sports such as lacrosse will be looking for available time slots. In the winter and spring months, we move into more non-traditional varsity sports, such as men's and women's football. CLU recreational sports, such as recreational soccer, are also in play. The club sports are very big in this time frame, with club lacrosse and club rugby needing lots of field time and game time. And our intramurals program will also pick up and schedule more time in the Sunday through Thursday evening time slots. Our outside events and conferences programming, or rentals, is not expected to change appreciably. During the school year, they'll continue to rent the field on a space available basis after CLU uses are satisfied. And in fact, we recently reduced the outside use hours in our Samuelson Aquatic Center pool to accommodate increased CLU use of the pool. Examples of outside users currently on the practice field include Lorena High School, youth lacrosse programs, and adult soccer. The summer existing camp program currently on the field will not have any major changes, but may run later in the evening. CLU proactively manages our events on the campus. We have a proven parking and traffic management program in place for 3 years. We work with the Ventura County Sheriff's Traffic Division on existing traffic control measures for large events. The existing athletic facilities for the lights and the amplified sound are in compliance with the project conditions on our special use permit. CLU management staff is on site at all events for varsity sports and outside groups, and we meet in person with every neighbor regarding their issues, weekend or after hours. Based on last year's data, we'll have nearly 40% of our students using the Roland Stadium as they participate in sports at the varsity, club sport, or intramural levels. For our 2,000 traditional undergrads, this translates to 650 students in intramurals, 60 students in club sports, in addition to the varsity sports teams. The Roland Stadium is essential to CLU's continued growth and development in accordance with our master plan, enhancing the student experience, the City of Thousand Oaks, and the community, and we respectfully ask for your approval of this project.
Questions of the applicant? Commissioner Adam?
Hello, Ms. Crooks. Did you go to the June 14th meeting?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was it well attended?
CLU management staff were there, and we had the members of the HOA board that were in attendance. Okay. I can give you some further details on the topics that were discussed and the outcomes, if you'd like to.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask that, what concerns came up and how would the university be addressing them?
Their main concerns were speeding on Mount Clef Boulevard, traffic backing up on Mount Clef, preventing them from getting out of their intersection, And community pool traffic just before 8 a.m., particularly in the summer with those pool moms speeding in to drop off their kids. People are exiting from CLU according to their observations and are rolling through the stop sign at speed and not stopping, which is a problem. After our discussion of various points and getting clarification, we came up with a number of things to move forward on, to work on together. We agreed not to oppose any efforts by the North Oaks HOA to have the city install a four-way stop at that intersection of McAfee, Overton, and Mount Clef Boulevard. It's my understanding, and I don't mean to steal Beth's thunder here, but she's getting proposals for traffic studies from the various consultants that the city uses. We'll work with the city traffic department to determine what is the best time to schedule the traffic counts to get the worst case scenario. That may actually be the fall when school is back in session, overlaying with a major event that we would be hosting from an outside group. So we'll be trying to really determine when the worst case scenario is going to occur and get the counts to happen in that time frame. Our CLU Director of Public Safety and a representative of the Sheriff's Department and a representative from CRPD will be attending the next HOA meeting, and they will be listening to some of the neighbors' concerns and working with them to develop different solutions. We're also working with the city and the Sheriff's Department to place electronic speed boards on Mount Clef. One of the things that we all agreed at the meeting was that none of us could think of a speed limit sign that was on the east side of the street going northbound. So the city has already installed that speed limit sign. They got that in late last week. So at least now people who do want to be in compliance with the speed limit will know what the speed limit actually is. In order to control the speeding, rolling stop issue coming off of our property, we are going to install a speed bump at that point where it's on our property, which will force them to really slow down so that they can certainly stop at the stop sign. That work is scheduled to happen on Monday, June the 28th. The other thing that we were talking about, we were under the understanding that our CLU public safety staff were not permitted to go out into the public street and physically direct traffic during events. And over the week, the city attorney's office has looked at this. Our director of public safety has worked with the sheriff's department, and it appears that the determination is that we can in fact do that. The city will probably want some form of waiver of liability, which we're happy to do. Our staff will require some additional training in order to do that, and we'll work with the sheriff's department to get that training in place. And that, I think, is actually going to solve a lot of the issues. If our own public safety staff can be out there at the intersection directing and controlling traffic, stopping traffic so that people from the McAfee Court condos can actually make their left turn out in an orderly fashion and clear the area. I think that will certainly help. And as Beth mentioned too, the city is going to go ahead and adjust the traffic signal timing so that there's going to be more green available to clear queues when we do have backups and we do have a large event. That's really going to help a lot.
Good, thank you. I'm glad to hear the dialogue is ongoing. Yeah, so in other words, maybe during the first football game, instead of a police officer there at that intersection, you'll have a CLU staff person directing?
You know, I will certainly be looking at that. We committed to city staff that we would actually get a sheriff's deputy out for the very first football game to actually direct and control traffic. And our public safety group may decide that they want to continue with that and then take over after that. We would certainly expect the attendance at the very first football game in the new facility to be probably the highest attendance we'll see, at least until we win conference championship.
There you go. Good. Okay, Ms. Crooks, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I wanted to ask you one more. I beg your pardon, sir. Just out of curiosity, what's going to happen with the old field now? What are you planning to do with that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. we currently play almost a game of Chinese checkers or dominoes on South Campus. We have to move out a facility before we've got the land available to build the new facility that's called for on our master plan. And that area is currently scheduled for development into our new student union building and an administration building. So we're planning to take that out of commission right away. The stadium structure will certainly come down immediately after the new stadium is operational, and the field will have its fate determined here fairly quickly, but it'll probably be gone fairly soon thereafter.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. As part of the master plan for Cal Lutheran, are there additional plans for any other sports facilities within that area?
That particular area of the North Campus? I'm
kind of looking, I was looking on that overhead, and I saw the old area, and I saw the track, and I did notice that this is clearly a football stadium, and so there's not a track. So I was wondering, if in the future, are you planning on building an additional facility?
We currently have a soccer field that's on the north side of the riparian corridor. It's located east of our facilities building, and that currently has a grass track around it, and that's where the permanent track facilities would be located once we go through that fundraising campaign.
So is there some vision that in the future there'll be another facility with lights?
We are currently not entitled for any lights north of the riparian corridor, and obviously that would take a special major modification to get that. But our current master plan is to put the track facilities around that soccer field, and we had always planned to keep the soccer field and the football field without the track as we went through the 2003 master plan and that major modification. It does just bring the spectators that much closer to the field and enhances the viewing experience.
Now, you spoke of a traffic plan that you have in place for major events. What would dictate what you would consider a major event, and what is specifically in that plan does it call for? So, for example, and I'm going to try and make this easier for where I'm trying to go with it. So if you're going to have a football game, and you know you're going to have 2,000 seats that are there, or a graduation, and you know that that's going to be a major one that people are going to attend, what types of things do you have as part of that plan that is going to help mitigate that unusual traffic flow onto those streets?
The way that our events and conferences group and our public safety group look at the events is really what is going to be the impact of the events. You can have an event that nominally doesn't appear as though it should be very impactful. For example, the quilt show that we have at the Lundgren Event Center, and yet that generates an extremely large amount of traffic and does require some special traffic mitigation facilities and approaches. So they will look at the calendar of events, and they work together to determine what is going to be an impact and then what is liable to have a small draw. And that's how they determine whether to put the parking management plan into place or what level of parking management and traffic management to have in place. So then it goes into a number of different layers. The highest layer, of course, is what we implement for commencement or graduation. For the regular, larger outside events, we have student workers stationed in the parking areas. They're controlling and monitoring the parking. They're verifying the availability of parking spaces connected by radios. As the spaces fill up, then they're actually closing the lots and directing the traffic right away onto other areas of the campus for parking. We always have a management staff person on premises during the major events who's in contact with radio and can actually be in touch with everybody and determine what's going on. Now you get to something like our commencement, which of course is the largest event that we host every year on the campus. The planning for that starts about 4 months in advance. And this year, I think they really did a super job of traffic and parking control. We had signboards up in advance on Olson Road warning that there was going to be traffic congestion there the next day. And they had, of course, hooded the no parking signs on Olson Road, so they had the warning that there were going to be people slowing down and parking. They had the shuttle buses running around the parking areas, taking people from the remote areas into the event location, again connected by radio so that everybody could determine where the shuttle bus was and who needed to be picked up where. All the student workers were in place to monitor and direct the parking to make sure that we filled up every available space that we had before we went onto the street. I should mention that for the regular outside events, we do not use the parking that's available on Campus Drive on Mount Clef Boulevard. We do have our student workers for events go into those neighborhoods with sandwich boards and signs saying no event parking. And if we do get a report from a neighbor that somebody has decided to go ahead and attend and park there and that they are going to attend the event, we do try to track them down and ask them to please go and move their car. And a lot of the time, they're very accommodating. They just didn't realize. They'll go and remove their car. You always find the odd one or two that, just refuses. But by and large, we have really excellent compliance. So it's really boils down to, I think, a lot of advanced planning, having the systems down, getting the systems deployed, and then that management presence and monitoring during the events to make sure that we don't have issues. Or if we do have an issue, that it's resolved immediately.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to go ahead and go to our public comments. Before we go into our speaker cards, I'd like to state for the public record that we had in comment cards, we had 3 comment cards that were opposed, 3 that were undeclared that we couldn't determine if it was pro or con, and we had 73 in favor. I have a total of 18 speaker cards. What's going to happen is that each one of the speakers will have 3 minutes to talk. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and call the name with the next 2 following individuals to come after. If you could, just to help us expedite the meeting, when I call your name, come down and take a seat close by so that we can move it. The second part of it is that you do need to state your name and city of residence for the record. And finally, for everyone that's here in the audience, this is a critical part of our meeting. We really want to welcome and encourage the public to participate. You can help us with that by holding back your applause or comments or reaction. It's pretty scary for people to come down here and not to have ever done this before. And so everyone's point of view is valued. So if you could help by just not making any comments, that would be really appreciated. Our first speaker is Pauline Donovan, followed by Ryan Van Omeren, followed by Dan Slatebury, I think. But our first one is Pauline Donovan. And if Ryan and Dan can start getting ready, that would be great. Pauline, you go to the taller microphone that's right there. Okay. And if you could state your name and city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Pauline Donovan, and I live in Thousand Oaks. I am also a University Village resident with a request. I would like the Planning Commission to schedule a review of operations and conditions 1 year from the Roland Stadium opening date. At that time, it could invite input from all interested parties, view complaints and suggestions submitted, and make necessary modifications. Some requirements may prove to have been overly onerous, others overly loose. I understand that this method of review has been used by other municipalities with considerable success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there questions of the speaker? If not, our next speaker will be Ryan Van Omeren, followed by Dan Slatbury, followed by Fred Miller.
Thank you, Chair Grumley.
If you could
my name is Ryan Van Omeren.
Okay, good.
CLU employee for 10 years, Newbury Park, Thousand Oaks resident, also for 10 years. My role at Cal Lutheran, I'm an Associate Vice President for Operations and Planning. What that means is I head what we call the operations team at Cal Lutheran. It encompasses construction, facilities management, outside events, and security. At this very venue back in 2007, we brought the community use pool to the Planning Commission. Mr. Adam probably remembers that. I'm not sure. Mr. Lunn, you were there? And I will say my 10 years at Cal Lutheran have been very positive, very fulfilling, but that particular evening was kind of tough. It showed me that there's a lot of things that we could do, and working with our neighbors, reaching out to our neighbors, and being proactive kind of stewards of our programs that maybe we weren't doing all that well. So from that, kind of a profound impact on what we do at Cal Lutheran, how we talk to our neighbors, how we make sure that we talk to our neighbors. We started our neighborhood meetings every quarter. We invite everybody on our mailing list. One of the reasons the McCaffrey issue sort of came out is because of this technical glitch on our part where they dropped off the mailing list. We would have loved to have the opportunity to talk to them before they sent the letter. We would have had that opportunity if not for that little technical glitch. But it does kind of demonstrate how that one little glitch and suddenly that we don't have that contact, suddenly we get the letter, and why we have that determination to have those quarterly meetings and why we continue doing so. Since that community use pool meeting in 2007, we've had 9 of these meetings. We keep minutes at all of them. We go over any events or anything that anybody complains about in great detail, ensure that it's resolved at the next meeting. And beyond that, we engage our Director of Events, Conference and Events here. That's going to talk a lot about what he does with our neighbors, and our Director of Public Safety. So, turn it over.
Are there any questions of the speaker? Commissioner Adam.
Hi, Mr. Van Omeren. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you acknowledge how important it is to keep up a good relationship with the neighborhood, and I sense that the dialogue that you've established has increased exponentially over the last couple of years, and I'm very glad to see that. And since you're Director of Operations, I'll just throw this out. It's kind of a little bit of a off-the-wall question, but with a stadium of this quality, was there any talk of luring the Cowboys back?
I would say we certainly have had that
Dallas
discussion.
Cowboys?
We certainly have had that discussion. I will say, though, there are scheduling issues with how the NFL, the timing of their camps, and the timing of our academic year. So I wouldn't say it'd be an easy thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Dan Slatbury, you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce it, but prior to that, following up will be Fred Miller and Stephanie Angelini.
Thank you. My name is Dan Slattery. I'm Director of Auxiliary Services, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. I oversee one of the areas of the campus called Conferences and Events, who does some external bookings for our facilities both on North Campus as well as South Campus. I also serve to respond to calls that come in on the Community Response Hotline, which is located on our website. What I'd like to do first is allay any fears about how many additional activities we might be scheduling here on the new facility of the football stadium. We do not have an aggressive marketing campaign for use of our facilities. Most of our contacts come through word of mouth. Most leads come through friends of the university and contacts that the university has here in the community, existing groups that we host and their guests, and also directly from our athletic department. All of our outside bookings play second fiddle to the university academic, athletic, intramural, and recreational bookings. So I'm fighting tooth and nail to get any kind of time at all on these facilities. We do take a great deal of precaution in our process and approach to managing these events. We have a lease or contract agreement with each group. We verify and retain certificates of insurance on each. We establish a primary point of contact person. We also place the event on the university master calendar. We then review the potential impact of each event on the campus and the neighborhood. We do so at 3 different meetings: our monthly auxiliary services meeting, our biweekly North Campus operations meetings, and our regular summer planning meetings, which take place for about 4 months leading up to the summer. We then determine the appropriate staffing level needed for a specific event, and that does vary. I know a question was asked earlier. Well, how do you judge that? 2 weekends ago, we had 6 different events going on the North Campus and never filled more than half of the parking lot that weekend. But we knew in advance that that would be the case. With larger events that are greater in size, that would warrant more traffic attendance and that we would know bring more vehicles onto the campus, we staff up for those. We also have very visible university staff attendants. A couple of them are here in the audience tonight who work for me. We have a manager on site. I can attest to that because I've worked 14 out of the last 16 weekends. We schedule appropriate housekeeping, maintenance, and grounds personnel, and we then go over in detail the event day management that we would take and approach to each event. We review the event procedures with the on-site groups. We deploy no event parking signs. We regularly check noise levels. We also monitor the parking lots via vehicle and on foot. And then we manage the event day complaints face-to-face with neighbors who might call and complain. We then follow up by maintaining a complaint log, and also we will follow up with anybody who we couldn't see face-to-face that day who may have left a message. We think we do a good job at it.
Thank you. Questions of the speaker? If not, our next speaker is Fred Miller, followed by Stephanie Angelini, followed by Tom Ryan. Again, your name and city of residence, please.
Good evening. My name is Fred Miller. I lived in Thousand Oaks, California for going on 36 years of the same residence. 3 years ago, I joined Cal Lutheran University as a director of public safety because I wanted to use my law enforcement skills, corporate security, and safety experience to create a safe and secure environment for not only our campus but the surrounding community. An important aspect of my job has been to implement a parking plan, which we started 3 years ago. Purpose was to maximize on-campus parking and reduce parking in our neighborhood developments. We realize that some events have a direct impact on the flow of traffic on Mount Cliff, exiting on McAfee Court, Campus Drive, and Olson Road. I have an ongoing and regular communications with the East Valley Sheriff Station, the City of Thousand Oaks Police Department Traffic, and I pay particular attention to addressing neighborhood complaints and concerns. These meetings have resulted in the development of a parking and traffic plan for every day as well as for graduation and major events. We have improved the traffic flow in and out of the North Campus parking lots and have fewer problems with visitors parking on the east side of North Campus Drive and the northeast corner of Mount Cliff and Olson. New signage has improved traffic flow around the campus. A center line was added after working with University Village because of concerns about traffic going across the center line on North Campus Drive. That has improved safety. We reduced speeding on campus by working with the Sheriff's Department and inviting them onto campus. And I've partnered with the Director of Security and Safety at University Village, and we meet regularly to develop parking plans and address parking issues for their residents. A member of the Thousand Oaks Police Traffic is invited to each of our quarterly neighborhood meetings to address concerns, and I meet with them before and after these meetings. Some of these issues we're not empowered to resolve. That's why the sheriff is there. I recently hired a former Ventura County Sheriff's deputy as my public safety supervisor. He will be working with my officers in the Thousand Oaks Police Department regarding traffic issues on campus and the surrounding neighborhoods. He will also be an integral part of every event planning. To personalize my relationships, I provided my unlisted home phone number. Sometimes I question the advisability of doing that. Emails and cell phone to those who have concerns, who have situations where they need to reach me right away or my department. If follow-up is required because of issues, I have and will continue to arrange meetings with neighborhoods of the Thousand Oaks Police regarding these issues. Our policies respond immediately to any neighborhood concerns, including traffic, parking, illumination, or noise coming from the campus. The same policy will be applied for any activity at the new stadium. I am confident that the measures we have put in place will continue to develop, will address and resolve neighborhood concerns. Thank you very much.
Questions of the speaker? If not, our next speaker is Stephanie Angelini, followed by Tom Ryan, followed by Cassidy Halligan.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I am Stephanie Angelini. I've been a resident of Westlake Village for 18 years. By day, I have the joy of serving as a major gifts officer for California Lutheran University. By night, I have the honor of serving as the chair for the Thousand Oaks Arts Commission. So that's why I'm here tonight to tell you just a little bit about the art gallery located within the proposed William Rowland Stadium. Yes, it's very unique. Well, it's unique to have an art gallery within a football stadium. But this is a great opportunity to showcase Mr. Rowland's eclectic, international, and multicultural collection in a venue that will serve the city and the university for many years to come. Mr. Rowland's collection of bronze statues will stand alongside permanent and rotating collections, American Indian art, regional and Western art, and artifacts from around the world can come together in a space that will be seen not by people that usually go to art galleries. I don't intend there to be a huge amount of traffic studies for the art gallery itself, unfortunately, but I am thrilled that more people will be coming into a gallery or a museum. Not only does this gallery help our future plan and our master plan, but this gallery will also be used by the students and the university alongside Mr. Rowland's collection. So, as an artist and as a serious football fan, I support this gallery, and I just wanted to give you a little information about that and our goal to, as Dr. Kimball said, serve mind, body, and soul. Thank you.
Are there questions of the speaker? If not, our next is Tom Ryan, followed by Cassidy Halligan, followed by Georgia McAfee. Again, city, your name, city of residency.
My name is Tom Ryan. I live in the city of Thousand Oaks. My wife and I have lived, Madam Chair and members of the Commission, my wife and I have lived across from California Lutheran University for 11 years. During those years, we've seen a range of important building and development projects completed around the campus. There's one, in fact, currently in progress. In general, we have very high expectations, and over the years, as you well know, each of the projects have exceeded our expectations. We very much look forward to your approval of this these current plans. I have three quick bullet points that will emphasize what you've already heard this evening. First, CLU has proven to be an extremely considerate and conscientious neighbor. They are accessible and constantly seek input and opinion from the community. They are flexible. They are great communicators. One example is their excellent web pages, which keep the community informed of plans and projects. As you've seen, they regularly schedule community meetings, which are well-run and helpful. Truthfully, they anticipate most all needs of their neighbors and are creative and efficient and thorough in meeting them. Secondly, you would expect a great university to know something about homework. And I assume that you've seen this evening, they've done theirs well regarding lighting, parking, and noise from this new project. Please look again at the work that was completed already regarding parking, lighting, and noise for the baseball fields, the tennis courts, swimming pools, and the gymnasium. I consider those to be fine and successful projects. Specific to lighting, as you've seen tonight, technology continues to advance, and I knew that we could trust CLU to take full advantage in selecting their new stadium lights, and they have done that. They did a great job for the tennis courts and the swimming pools as well. Regarding the noise, there's just 5 home football games per year, although we have a few young gentlemen in the audience that would like to add a 6th playoff game to that schedule one of these times before they graduate. The new field is not far at all from the old field, and the side of the new field has already been used for some time, as you've heard, for high school soccer matches, football practice, and other events, all without incident, without complaint. Thirdly and lastly, landscaping is always excellent throughout the campus, and you should look for the new project to be beautiful. We are grateful just for the number of trees and diversity of trees, planted in the last several years. Lastly, I had a personal note. My wife and I love living in Thousand Oaks. California Lutheran is a huge reason why. We went to college, my wife and I, in a city that is ranked #1 in California in recent years at the Claremont colleges. So we know what a great town can feel like, and we certainly learned that in our 11 years here in Thousand Oaks, so we've been doubly blessed. One of my personal hobbies when we travel is to visit and walk college campuses around the country, so I've been on lots and lots and lots of campuses. Thank you very much.
Any questions of the speaker? Our next speaker will be Cassidy Halligan, followed by Georgia McAfee, followed by Peter Elmore.
My name is Cass Halligan, and I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks, and I'm a senior at California Lutheran University. I was appointed by Student Body President Evan Clark to speak on behalf of Cal Lutheran students in regards to our support for William Rollins Stadium. I'm a presidential host at Cal Lutheran, which means I give tours to prospective students and their families. One of my favorite parts of any tour is speaking about CLU's growth. Prospective students are so excited when they learn about plans for our new stadium. The university, our programs, and facilities attract some of the best and brightest students. As a part of CLU's master plan, the planned Rollins Stadium has helped CLU attract the biggest incoming first-year and transferred class in CLU's history. I am also the president of a CLU student club called the Purple Pit. This club's goal is to support our school's athletes and promote school spirit and student involvement. Every club on campus participates in a community service project, which is one of CLU's highlights. It's all about helping others before yourself. The new stadium will have a student section which will provide a fun and safe social atmosphere for students to get engaged with their peers. The current stadium is not big enough for all the fans. The increased size of the new stadium and student section will allow for a more enjoyable atmosphere for all fans, including members of the Thousand Oaks community. Across my involvements in the Cal Lutheran community, I can confidently tell you that the students of CLU encourage you to approve the proposed plan. The construction and completion of the William Rollins Stadium will encourage growth at CLU and the economy of the Thousand Oaks area. Student involvement will increase on campus, and the students, community members, and athletes will be able to enjoy the long-awaited stadium together. Thank you.
Questions of the speaker? I have a real quick one. What's your degree going to be in?
Exercise science.
Well, much luck in your future. Thank you for coming down. Our next speaker, Georgia McAfee, followed by Peter Elmore, followed by Men McEnroe.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the chamber and assembled guests. I am Georgia McAfee. I have to say I got you all beat because I used to play and walk through the fields of barley and wheat in 1954 where the new buildings will be. So I've been here a long time. I do live in Thousand Oaks. Anyway, I am pleased that we have such an agreeable neighbor. Cal Lutheran is a marvelous place. I don't want to knock that one bit. I would add, however, at our last meeting, which was my first because we dropped off the map because of the computer glitch, we're happy to say we're on it now. And thank you. However, at the last meeting, a concern was expressed about the possibility of a four-way stop or boulevard stops at the intersection of McAfee and Mount Clef. Many of us felt strongly that would be a real safety advantage. I personally do because I walk my dogs often over there and was nearly run over about 10 days ago, and it was light, it wasn't dark. Anyway, when this was broached at the meeting, I don't recall who said, well, the neighbors wouldn't like it. So last week, I walked up and down Mount Clef talking to people in the neighborhood, and I have to tell you, to the person, no one objected to the idea. In fact, many were adamant that it would be a really boon, a great boon for our safety and well-being, feeling that the people on Mount Clef are often feeling in danger, especially with their kids, when people rip up and down that street. And as Suzanne had said earlier, many times they appear to be going over 60 miles an hour, which is well in advance of the thing. Well, that concludes that part that I've said. And then I'd like to mention something about the gentleman who spoke first this evening. Some of us are not totally computer illiterate, and in the spirit of saving energy, I really like going green. I'm a big recycler. How about putting the minutes online instead of on 50 pounds of paper? Okay? Thank you so much.
Ms. McAfee, could you also just state your city of residency?
Thousand Oaks.
Thank you.
I live on McAfee Court.
Thank you so very much. Questions of the speaker? If not, Peter Elmore, Ben McEnroe and Daniel, excuse me, I believe it's Kuntz.
My name is Peter Elmore. I am the manager of the Little Mount Clef Apartments. That would be the ones that look kind of like a China buffet right across from the tennis courts.
And your city of residence?
That'd be Thousand Oaks. I really have no problem at all with the football stadium. I think it's great. I'm just here to state that there truly is a traffic hazard. And there truly is a parking problem as it is right now. I know efforts have been made, and I've never been invited to any of the meetings, but I have spoken in maybe a couple of years ago with someone over there with the sandwich board signs put out. I mean, they're basically ignored, which if I was coming to an event, I would probably ignore it myself, you know. And it's just, if there's something that can be done, because my residents, we're a family building, and we have, some residents have 3 cars. I only allow 2 to park inside, so they need to park in front of their building. When there's a large event, it's impossible for them to park there. I mean, the people that attend graduation, for example, that's a huge event. It's well taken care of. I know they put the student out there sitting on the chair, which really no one pays much attention to him either. You know, I mean, if we all can be honest here. And I just wish someone could really just get in depth and really study it well and come up with a good plan. If it takes security people in uniform out there to show people which ways to go, maybe that would have a little more clout to the people driving through. And I'm all for the stadium. I don't have any problem with lights. The tennis court across from me has been handled very well. The lights automatically go off at 10 o'clock, so it doesn't bother any of the residents that way. It's been great. Perhaps something could be done on Mount Clef itself, since that is a clear path all the way from the signal down to its end, and I'm out there every morning. You can see me about 6 to 7 in the morning, and there's people really moving down Mount Clef Boulevard, and anyone coming out of Overton Court, this morning, brakes were screeching, horns were honking. It's a very dangerous situation. And I just hope it doesn't take someone getting hurt to alleviate that. Thank you for your time.
Any questions of the speaker? If not, Ben McEnroe, followed by Daniel Kuntz, followed by Joan Young.
My name is Ben McEnroe. While my residence is in Santa Clarita, my wife and family would probably argue the fact that I live in Thousand Oaks, having attended CLU, and I've been the head football coach at CLU since 2007. During that time, the Kingsman football program has a master record of 20 wins and 8 losses, won 2 Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference championships with a record of 16 wins and 2 losses against that competition, and competed in the NCAA Division III football playoffs for the first time in school history. We have worked hard to put together another championship contender for the 2010 season, and many of those team members are in attendance this evening. The commitment to build William Rowland Stadium comes at a pivotal moment in the history of CLU and the football program. Our university is attracting record numbers of applicants, and the recruitment of academically qualified student athletes is an extremely competitive process. In that process, we as football coaches at CLU continually hear what is said about our existing football facility by recruits that visit other campuses. The stadium's too old. They're building new facilities for every program and academic area outside of football. There's no press box in the stadium. Coaches have to work from rented scissor lifts high above the stadium, and so on. At this juncture, we have a football team that finished the 2009 season ranked in the top 25 out of 240 Division III institutions in both the American Football Coaches Association poll and the USA Today poll. We have a president and administration that is extremely supportive of athletics, a fine group of assistant coaches that have all earned degrees from CLU, and a deep talent pool of players. The construction of Roland Stadium is really the final part to the equation for putting CLU football back on the map and emerge as a national power at the NCAA Division III level. By building the stadium, we have the ability to host quality, responsible university events, including football and soccer playoff games. The ability to host NCAA playoffs, anywhere from 1 to 4 football games, as well as a single weekend event for soccer, will bring hotel and restaurant revenue back to the community. The typical crowd for a CLU football game consists of our student body, the families and friends of our players, alumni, and community members. The seating capacity will not be great enough to host large school CIF high school playoff games, so there will not be groups of teenagers loitering around the area waiting to be picked up on Friday nights in the North Campus area. For football, personally, I would like to play one night game per season on our schedule, and we would utilize low-level lighting for occasional practices. Football would only use the sound system for Saturday games, and we would continue to observe the practice of not using our whistles before 7 o'clock in the morning for early practices. It's my opinion that the construction of the stadium is a tremendous opportunity for the university and for the football program to continue to attract high-quality student athletes.
Thank you. Is there questions of the speaker? Our next speaker will be Daniel Kunz, and then followed by Joan Young, followed by Michael Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Dan Kunz. I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks, and I've been here 18 years, moved from Arizona, here with my family. Chairman Grumney and Commissioners, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak on behalf of our students who happen to be athletes at CLU. NC2A Division III athletes are considered students first and foremost, and they do not receive the special treatments that we might see in many other venues in athletics today. They come and they participate with their passion for their sport. It's something that they've been doing for most of their lives, and so when they have the opportunity to participate with their teammates and engage with one another, it makes them better people. They learn more about each other. They learn more about being part of a community and how to become one, and then to share those experiences in leadership roles in a lot of different ways. And one of the things I think Cal Lutheran University offers all of us is that opportunity to engage with one another in positive ways. Given the opportunity to develop the William Roland Stadium, I think our athletes will enhance their experiences. Not just our own athletes, as I mentioned before, but our students. Many students from across the campus who enjoy sports. In addition to that, we think our faculty, our staff, and those in our community will have more and more opportunities to get to know one another, to share time together. It would be the only four-year university intercollegiate facility for football and other sports in our community. We're very excited about that prospect. Currently, we are challenged. Our students are very challenged, especially in the sports of soccer and in football, because many of our students have to juggle trying to make sure they can fulfill their academic requirements and share in the opportunity to participate in their sport. And this has caused some real challenges in selecting majors and other things. I want to just finalize a little bit and emphasize the importance of this facility for relationship building amongst our community and amongst our school and for the future. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and I request very much your positive affirmation of this wonderful opportunity and gift that Mr. Roland has put forward for us. Thank you so much.
Questions of speaker? Our next speaker will be Joan Young, followed by Michael Wilson, followed by Monica Kozella.
Joan Young, City of Thousand Oaks, Chair Grubney, members of the Planning Commission. It is with great pride tonight, as a 45-year-plus resident of the City of Thousand Oaks and a longtime member of the Cal Lutheran community and 9-year Board of Regent member, and they just extended that for another 3 years, I think, that I am here tonight to ask your support for Cal Lutheran's newest venture and a great addition to the City of Thousand Oaks. Cal Lutheran has long been part of the social fabric of the city of Thousand Oaks. In fact, when I came to work here in Thousand Oaks in 1963, it was the only social focus that we had in the city of Thousand Oaks, besides Jungle Land, of course. Cal Lutheran today has had the benefit of receiving a major gift from a local business person that will enable us to build this incredible stadium. Our current stadium, as you have heard, was built as a temporary facility. So as we celebrate our 50th year in this community, the William Rowland Stadium will stand proudly next to the Gilbert Sports and Fitness Arena, the Samuelson Olympic Aquatic Stadium, and the Sparky Anderson baseball field, and also our community pool, which I need to thank you for, because my granddaughter's daughter, and my granddaughter is an alum of Cal Lu, my great-granddaughter, who is 2, is in the Daddy and Me swimming program. So thank you, City of Thousand Oaks and Cal Lutheran. And I hope her brother one day will be playing at the William Rowland football stadium. So as I ask for your approval this evening, I want to just footnote this by saying it is few communities that have the pride and have the ability to have a 4-year university in their presence. It has certainly enriched this community and the lives of the members of our community. So this is the right place, it is the right time, and it is certainly an idea whose time has come. Thank you.
Questions of Speaker? Our next speaker will be Michael Wilson, followed by Monica Kozella, followed by Jordan Barta.
Good evening. Michael Wilson. I reside in Thousand Oaks. I live just off of Mount Clep at Lucero, and my concern coming here tonight was that I was going to see those lights for the rest of my stay in Thousand Oaks. Fortunately, it turns out you put the stadium where I was hoping it was going to be, and I thank you for that. And I have seen your old existing stadium, and you guys need it. You really do need the new stadium, believe me. I do have a concern about the area north of the drive that goes through from the emergency gate over to the other side of the field. I would like to ask Cal Lutheran to leave that area north of that alone. Don't develop. And that's really all I have to ask. Well, let me put it this way. When I first moved in there, I would see white-tailed kites hunting for field mice, and I would see egrets come and land in the winter. I don't see that anymore. The white-tailed kites got chased off because a lot of their food population has been removed. The coyotes still hunt because, you know, they come in the neighborhood for cats. But if you could refrain from developing that area north of the paved drive that goes through, it would be nice. It would be appreciated by the Ridgecrest residents, or Green Ridge residents. Okay, thank you very much.
Questions of Speaker? Our next speaker will be Monica Kozella, followed by Jordan Barta, followed by Kit Miller.
Good evening. My name is Monica Kozella. I have lived in Thousand Oaks for 43 years, and my daughter graduated from CLC. I'm delighted that CLU will soon have a long-needed modern stadium to serve its students. However, as a University Village resident, I and many other residents are concerned that the noise emanating from the stadium may present a serious problem and negatively impact the quality of life of residents, especially those residing in the 24 apartments facing the stadium. We are told that city code requires that noise emanating from a single event may not exceed 65 decibels at the edge of the owner's property. That must be a reasonable standard, but unfortunately, most laymen do not understand what that means, so we have to trust you. Trust, but verify. We'd like to know who will be responsible for verifying that the noise from a football game or a rock concert or whatever does not violate the law. Will CLU be responsible for monitoring and keeping their records on file? Or will it be up to University Village to monitor the noise levels and to bring violations to the attention of the city on behalf of its residents? And will the city accept University Village's readings? And what will be the consequences for not observing this requirement? Are there penalties stipulated in the municipal code? What will be the remedy? In closing, I would like to request that the city monitor sound levels throughout the first football game of the inaugural season so that immediate remedial action can be taken if violations are apparent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions of speaker? Our next speaker will be Jordan Barta, followed by Kit Miller, followed by Suzanne Kings. Jordan Barta, it doesn't appear that he is here, so we're going to go to Kit Miller, followed by Suzanne Kings, followed by Michelle Jacobson.
Good evening. I'm Kit Miller, a resident of University Village of Thousand Oaks, and I have a concern. The project description states that, quote, CLU plans to utilize the lit field to hold football and soccer team practices in the evening hours, and will also host both collegiate football and soccer games at night and selected outside events from the community, end quote. A gentleman previously addressed this matter, but I was concerned as to more specifics. In other words, what type of selected outside community events are anticipated. I too, from University Village, am concerned about the noise. Also, why was there no limitation placed on the number of nights a year the stadium could be utilized? I assume that this was a conscious decision by the commission. Thank you.
Questions of speaker? Okay, if not, our next speaker will be Suzanne Kings, followed by Michelle Jacobson, followed by John Short.
I believe you're talking about me. My name is Suzanne Kinsey.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I just don't want to take somebody else's place.
You did not take someone else's place.
Thank you.
And again, if you could also state your city of residence.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Suzanne Kinsey. I'll be reading this very slowly because if I don't, my speech impediment will take over. I have lived in North Oaks condos for over 11 years. I have been on the homeowners board of directors for 5.5 years, representing our 112 residences. Originally exiting Mount McAfee onto Mount Clef was not a problem. A slight delay, as certain times of the year, was to be expected. However, since the pools and tennis courts were involved, traffic has become a problem. One resident on his way to work told me he waited 7 minutes to be able to turn left onto onto Mount Clef. He says, Suzanne, you're on the board, can't you do something? Now we have an opportunity to try and resolve the traffic difficulties. As previously indicated, our main concern is with traffic exiting and entering the sports facility on Overton. It presents extreme difficulty for our residents attempting to turn left onto Mount Clef. I feel these specific issues must be dealt with before the project proceeds. I know some efforts have been made, but I'm really concerned about the whole thing. In response to Ms. Crook's remarks in her June 11th letter to Greg Smith, I would like to explain that CLU acknowledges that we were dropped off the notification list for the neighborhood meetings several years ago. We did not know such meetings were being conducted until we saw the notice for this public hearing. Apparently, according to Ms. Crook's letter, there have been 9 neighborhood meetings. I attended 3 several years ago, but again was not aware or invited to the other 6. Additionally, I was not aware of the CLU website when I read her letter, and I thank, wherever she is, Valerie for that information. On a positive note, at the June 14th meeting, Ryan Van Omeren stated he would back a plan for a 4-way stop at the intersection, commit to installation of a speed bump, some of this has been covered already, and support permanent traffic changes. We are encouraged and optimistic. Thank you. One more thing, I think it'd be an excellent review. I think her name was Pauline, the lady who said review after a year. I think it should be 6 months. And we could all maybe add some input at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the speaker? If not, we'll go to Michelle Jacobson, followed by John Short.
My name is Michelle Jacobson. I live in the Wildwood Park area of Thousand Oaks. I didn't intend to speak, but I was misinformed about what color to fill out of the card. As long as I'm here for the record, I'm for the project. I'd like to say how much I really like the clock tower, and I think not only will it be a landmark for CLU, but an iconic image for Thousand Oaks soon, too.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Our last speaker is John Short.
Good evening, John Short, City of Thousand Oaks. I'm also the vice chair of the Canal Recreation and Park District, and also a graduate of CLC long before any of these football players were ever born. But long after Karsten graduated. Anyhow, the reason I'm here this evening, real quick, the City of Thousand Oaks, as well as the Canal Recreation Park District, I mentioned earlier this evening, and Cal Lutheran did a joint project several years ago and put in a pool for Cal Lutheran in the community. And the one thing I'll just mention real quick in closing is that Cal Lutheran gets it right. Cal Lutheran is great for the community, does the right thing for the community, is concerned about the residents in the surrounding community, and if you've driven through Cal Lutheran recently, everything they do is state-of-the-art, and we owe it to Cal Lutheran, we owe it to the students, and we owe it to the residents of our community to approve this project. Thank you.
Questions of the speaker? If not, that concludes our public comment section of the meeting. We're now going to go for a 10-minute break, and then we'll return with comments from city staff. Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Okay, a couple of corrections for the end of the public comments. We found that there were some additional cards that were on the table. One, I believe, would like to speak. Is it a Stan Rogowski? Or did you want that just to be a comment card? And I don't believe he is here. Then we had additional comment cards of 9, bringing our total comments in favor to 82. And then I'm going to check one more, and again, I'm just trying to check to make sure we're not missing anyone. Dennis Bryant, did you want to speak? And it does not appear that he is still here. Okay, then again, we are concluding our public comments. We'll go back to the city staff for any comments.
Thank you, Chair Grumney. The first speaker had mentioned having a review after 1 year with regard to any concerns or issues. And at this time, I'd like to have the City Attorney's Office provide input on this. Also, with regard to a 4-way stop that another speaker had mentioned for the intersection of McAfee, Overton, and Mount Clef. City Attorney's Office does have some comments regarding these two items. I will, at this time, mention I did meet with Mr. Wilson during the break. He had asked what is proposed on the master plan north of Lucero for the CLU North Campus. Across from Fallen Oaks, there is an area there that is undeveloped on the master plan, and as far as we know, this area will remain undeveloped. There are 4 practice fields north of that emergency access drive, and after the city attorney's comments, perhaps Greg Smith can offer some comments about that particular area that will remain undeveloped across from Fallen Oaks on the North Campus. With regard to noise, there were some concerns about who is responsible, the penalties, the remedy, whether the city would monitor the first football game, and with regard to noise. Mr. Smith also at this time will, or later on, will provide some information with regard to noise concerns. So at this time, I'd like to have the City Attorney's Office provide further information regarding the review, whether it be 6 months or 1 year.
Thank you. In terms of conditioning this project with regard to a review period, if the Planning Commission is so inclined to do that, the time period doesn't matter whether it's 6 months or 1 year. However, you can require a report back about how things are going. Just a reminder, it would be illegal for you to either add more conditions at that time without the applicant putting forward a new application. It would also be illegal for you to revoke the permit without a specific condition in the conditions being violated. Just a reminder on that. In terms of the 4-way stop sign, and Mr. Smith can back me up on this, but my understanding from the environmental analysis is there is no project impact that would require a mitigation measure such as a 4-way stop. From the testimony that was brought forth tonight, it appears that is an existing condition based on current operations at CLU, and to require the applicant to put in a stop sign, for example, if the Planning Commission were to go that way, I don't think would be legal. That's all I have to say. And let me ask, Mr. Smith, do you agree that the environmental did not provide any nexus for any increased traffic impacts based on the proposal?
That's correct. In this particular case, these two issues are separated. There's an existing facility. There's a request for a stop sign. Whether it's warranted at this particular location based upon the existing activities is something that would be determined best be determined by the traffic division, and in their judgment that was not recommended, and a determination was made that there was no significant effect. Now, if this is installed as a part of an agreement with the university and it's not subject to conditioning, that's a different situation.
I agree. Thank you.
Mr. Shepard, did you have some additional comments that you'd like to make?
Actually, not at this time, but I think there were a couple of other items that were going to be covered by staff as far as response to questions.
If I could respond to just a few issues in addition. There was comment regarding the future use and development of the property north of the access road that traverses the northern campus. As Ms. Leopold indicated, there are some practice fields proposed in that area, but the majority of the open space is permanently protected. It would remain as natural open space. There's a considerable amount of plant habitat for rare and endangered plant species in that area. It's, of course, contains a lot of 25% slope, but there is some excellent coastal sage scrub habitat and grassland, native grassland habitat in that area that will remain undeveloped as we know it. So I did want to respond to that one issue. With regard to noise and the analysis that was included in the negative declaration, we responded originally by going back to the work that was done by Impact Sciences when the North Campus was being analyzed as part of their environmental impact report for the entire campus facility. And at that time, they did some modeling for the football stadium and noted that, these would be periodic events, that noise levels were expected to periodically occur. They would be instantaneous with average sound levels of between 70 to 75 dBA during these games. These kinds of temporary events are not considered to be significant. They are of short duration. I know one of the speakers mentioned a threshold of 65 dBA that the city has for certain sound levels, but those are typically associated with long-term traffic noise levels, peak noise levels that we would not see at the university stadium. Again, the setback distance to the closest resident is about 400 feet, and given that situation, you can expect just normal attenuation of noise to be at least 10 dBA. So even under maximum conditions, this would be short-term. It would not exceed any adopted city threshold, and for that reason, we've determined no significant effect. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there questions of staff? Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. For Mr. Norman, okay, as far as the stop sign, what I heard tonight was that there's no requirement on the university for a stop sign, but that the university would not stand in the way of one if it came to fruition, but it's completely in the talking stages at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And just so it's in the public right-of-way, and so that's generally a city function to provide that if the city wanted to do that. I just wanted to remind the Planning Commission that there's really no legal way to force the university to pay for that based on this project.
Understood. And then the other point you made about the review, we could condition the project for review then, correct?
Yes, I would want to see that language in detail, but the review isn't the problem. It's what you do with the review that needs to be carefully looked at.
Okay, thanks. And from just a quick one from Ms. Leopold, was the University Village within the notification area?
Yes, it was within 500 feet of
okay, I mean, I would have thought they were.
project site.
I just wanted to be sure. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Is there any other questions of staff? If not, I do have one question, and that question is in regards to traffic for the major events, of whether or not we could condition to require that they have, I don't know if it's sheriff or police, for the conclusion of major events to handle the flow of traffic going onto the streets. Because that's the area of my greatest concern, is that I know that at the conclusion of any major event that you'll go to, that's what impacts people who just need to either come home or get through. And having some sort of police being able to help monitor making the flow go back and forth seems to be what is successful.
You know, I'll address this. Staff and myself did talk about this issue, and one thing I think that we would be okay with if the Planning Commission wanted to add a condition along those lines is that CLU would have to provide, you know, traffic control during certain events, for example, and that to meet that requirement that they would, as they currently do, confer with the Sheriff's Department about what type of traffic control would be necessary. I don't know if that would be a peace officer or whether it would be CLU staff. I'm not quite sure what would be appropriate, and I don't think that any condition along those lines would have to be that detailed. I think allowing them to work with the Sheriff's Department to find the best solution, depending on the type of event, should satisfy everyone.
So, Mr. Norman, right now with what we have and the conditions that are here before us, we don't have anything like that. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
Okay. Commissioner Adam?
I think we have it on a very limited basis. If I remember from the staff report, the university was going to provide a police officer for the first game at that intersection.
I don't recall if that's actually in the conditions itself or they're just agreeing to do that. I'll defer to Pam.
That is not part of the conditions. I believe there was some, the letters that were offered in the negative declaration addressing the North Oaks Homeowners Association's concerns. There may have been reference to uniformed deputies at intersections in one of the letters.
Could have sworn I read it in there somewhere. Well, in any event, I think it sounds to me like Commissioner Grumney's talking about is something on more of an ongoing basis versus a one game only.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would be interested to hear, Mr. Norman, what you might make as a recommendation of something that we could do that would address that issue so that when we go back to the applicant, he can make comments to it. Okay. If not, in a moment, we're going to talk to Commissioner Lund. Do you have any questions?
I have a question, as long as we've kind of diverted off the topic directly at hand here. And Beth, this would be directly for you. We've got plenty of sport venues in this town, and so let's just use the easiest one that comes to mind that certainly I have experience with and others do, with high school sporting events. As far as I'm aware of, we do not have any of those conditions for the high school venues in our town. Are you familiar with any that exist now?
I don't know of any special traffic control for such events.
Okay. Well, I'm very involved with Newberry Park football and with the parents group there, and I guarantee you that there's nothing that's in existence that I've been able to observe. Nor have I seen Cal Lutheran College or Cal Lutheran University, as people have referred to it tonight, based on age. It isn't their first rodeo either. They have many, many, many events there, including graduations, which I think is probably the highest attended. Correct? And I'm looking and I see Coach out here also. So what I would like to do, my 2 cents here, while we're in this discussion stage, is let's be very careful about putting the cart before the horse. We're talking very hypothetically at this particular point in time, and we're talking about an approval of an MND is what we're talking about here tonight, correct? So yes. So I from my spot in a lonely side of the dais over here, I don't want to start creating things that have not been in front of us in terms of evidence tonight.
Okay, and so let me just see, is there any more questions of staff? Let's go, Commissioner Reynolds.
This is the same thing that Commissioner Adams is going to say. If you look at the back of the MND, there's a letter from CLU, and it does say that they are proposing enhancements to the current program, and one of them is to provide a sheriff's deputy for on-street traffic direction and control at the intersection of Overton and McAfee for the first football game at the new stadium. It's actually in the CLU's letter that they're offering to do that.
I saw that, and I think that's good. My comments were really directed towards the expansion of that.
And right.
Okay.
Additional questions of staff? Ms. Leopold, did you have a statement you'd like to make?
Yes, I just wanted to offer some information. Commissioner Lund had mentioned the other high school facilities. Thousand Oaks High School has a seating capacity for 4,500. Newberry Park High School has a seating capacity for 3,472, and Westlake High School has a seating capacity for 3,646. Also, with regard to the recent commencement or graduation at California Lutheran University, there was a sheriff's deputy that worked with California Lutheran and developed an exiting program for the graduation ceremonies so that everyone was quickly able to leave the parking lots on the campus. So it has been proven that they are willing to work with the sheriff's deputies and have been successful in allowing the parking management to exit carefully and safely and quickly.
If I could just provide a few more comments with respect to the environmental document. What we're looking at this evening as a negative declaration. We've determined that this project does not have any significant effects that require to be mitigated. In that respect, the four-way stop sign that we've just discussed in terms of the willingness of the university to pursue that installation with the city is a separate issue related to existing conditions on a portion of the project which is unrelated to the stadium necessarily because of the location of that parking. The same is true of hiring a sheriff's deputy to monitor or help in assisting traffic flow operations. Again, in this particular area, we've determined that there isn't a significant impact associated with this project on that intersection. So if the university is interested in pursuing a role of the sheriff's department and helping to direct traffic and things, it's separate from this project, and it really wouldn't be viewed as a mitigation measure required as a part of the project. So I just want to make that clear.
Additional questions of staff? If not, we will, Commissioner Reynolds.
And I'd like to ask Ms. Baden, and a stop sign, a four-way stop, really shouldn't go in unless the warrants are there, because there is a problem then if one's put in and the warrants are not being met, correct?
That's right. There should be traffic counts collected for the purpose of a warrant analysis and determination by a licensed traffic engineer that the warrants are met. If they are, the traffic control device can be installed. If not, the counts probably should be monitored periodically, maybe going through the same exercise of collecting counts that are representative of what's happening at the intersection, possibly once the football stadium is in place and operating.
Okay, and I know a stop sign doesn't cost that much money, so it's not the cost, it's the warrants there, the liability then, because stop signs, if they're put in the wrong place or without the warrants, they cause more accidents than they're going to stop. So, okay.
Okay, now, any further questions of staff? If not, we'll go back to the applicant, who'll have 5 minutes. Ms. Crooks?
My name's Valerie Crooks, Senior Project Manager with CLU. I'd like to address the traffic control issue. The university is very committed as part of its traffic and parking management plan to working with the Sheriff's Department to determine what is the appropriate level of traffic control for our major events. We've just recently learned that we would be able to put our own uniformed, trained people out there to do traffic control. And I think we're very committed to pursuing that and managing it actively. That is the overwhelming complaint that we do hear from our neighbors, and I think we've now got the ability to take very proactive action on it, and we certainly intend to. So we would certainly like to leave that up to the university to continue to implement and improve our existing program. Just to refer to the Sheriff's Department, they did provide us with a communication that indicated that they thought our impacts from our football games would be far less than the high school traffic, and the high school traffic, they also noted, did not currently have traffic control in place. The other thing I'd like to address is the parking on Mount Clough Boulevard. The apartment parking right now is very hard for us to distinguish from the event parking. We currently believe that the event parking is very low, but again, it's hard to distinguish. We'd like to work with the McAfee Apartments. They are always notified of our quarterly meetings. Apparently, the property owner does not notify the manager, which is unfortunate, but we'll get his contact information, make sure he's included. And we should be able to come up with some way, perhaps they could have little badges on their windows that would indicate that they are residents, so we would know how to distinguish between the two levels of parking. As we've mentioned, we're not opposed to a four-way stop sign, but again, as city traffic points out, it would have to be warranted, or otherwise we could make the situation worse. Relative to University Village residents' comments tonight, we would like to note that the North Campus athletic facilities and the University Village development were co-approved at the same time by Planning Commission, and the lights on the football stadium were included in that entitlement. There was also a discussion of noise coming from the stadium at that time. We did sell that land to University Village for the development of the retirement community, and it's deliberately co-located next to the university so that they can take advantage of the many university facilities and the opportunities to attend our sporting events, audit our academic classes, and attend chapel, the CLU concerts and special lectures. We also have a sanctioned group walk from UVTO that walks around the campus grounds every day. And in fact, the retirement community was named for its co-location. It is University Village because it is co-located with the university. One of the conditions that we put on the sale of the land was that every prospective resident was to be fully informed of the complete build-out of our master plan North Campus facilities. And we are under the impression that that was in fact performed, and that they were fully aware of the fact that there was going to be a football stadium on the North Campus, that we would also have track facilities and all the other amenities, and that they knew about that prior to signing their lease agreements. We continue to invite University Village to our quarterly meetings. The notice is sent to their management, and we will work closely with Scott Polzine, their director, to make sure that he is in fact informing all the residents. I do believe he is. We've seen a number of them show up at our recent meetings. We would like to propose that we work with the residents of University Village on an ongoing basis to address some of their concerns relative to the noise levels. This would be incorporated into our regular meetings. City staff are always welcome to attend. Ms. Leopold does on a regular basis, and the other staff could be notified to attend, and we would take their comment and work out some action programs at that time if there was anything warranted. So again, we would like to continue to work through some of these issues with the community through our existing programs, just enhance those programs, and then add this other element to the regular community meetings and address it in that fashion.
Is there any questions of the speaker? Thank you, Ms. Crooks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back and close the public hearing, and now we'll open for commissioner discussion and/or a motion. Commissioner Lund.
Thank you, Chair Grumney. I want to thank the staff for the great work you did on this report, putting this together, and now I want to turn my attention to the folks from Cal Lutheran, and I apologize ahead of time, Coach, for using a sports metaphor. As is typical with Cal Lutheran, the bench was pretty deep here tonight. We had neighbors here and students here, members of the football team, distinguished members of the staff of Cal Lu. The president, Dr. Kimball, was here tonight. John Short from Conejo Park and Rec District. Most of us, I think, were impaneled the last time that we did a major project for Cal Lutheran, and that was the joint venture on the swimming pool. So, you know, this is a beautifully designed project. And there was a bunch of eloquent speakers up here tonight, so let me just kind of cut to the chase. It's about time that we get a football field here. This time it's a football field and a nice stadium to go along with the program. And soon thereafter, Coach, there'll be a championship, right? So anyhow, this is just one more step in this community partnership that goes on between this fine university that makes living here in Thousand Oaks in the Conejo Valley just a great place to live. They're committed, dedicated partners. Anytime they do a venture to do something, they want to do it right. They take the input. They apply it to their project to try to make themselves to be good neighbors. And I can tell you one thing, this is one of the reasons that certainly I've moved here, just because of the quality of life here in Thousand Oaks is greatly served by this university. It helps this university to widen its educational footprint, not only throughout Southern California, but quite frankly throughout the nation. And Dr. Kimball talked about that earlier tonight. So with that, let me just kind of cut to the chase here. It's my honor to approve staff's recommendations for both the negative declaration tonight and the SUMJ 2010-70134.
Comments to the motion? Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you. And I also will support the motion. I think that this city should be very proud that there's a university, a four-year university within our midst. And I think the football stadium is should have been here a long time ago. My son is now going to be 36, and I think when he was about 8 years old, he played flag football in the old stadium. And I was really surprised to see the stadium. That was the first time I had ever been there, and because I spent a lot of years down in Los Angeles at the Coliseum watching another school play football. And I really thought that we have a university here. In those days it was CLC, that we really need a stadium. I think that the stadium will bring the whole school together. We need new I'm really pleased to see Mr. Rowland here today. I went to city council meetings for years and years. I had a good friend that was on the council, and he was always there at the meetings. He's been active in the community for years and years, and there are some beautiful pieces of sculpture around town thanks to him, and I think now that he's willing to share them with the community is also a plus by having the art gallery at the stadium. I think that's wonderful of him to do that, not only sharing his wealth, and I'll be proud to drive by and see his name on the stadium. I thank you so much for adding to our community by giving this wonderful gift to the university. And with that, I'm going to vote for the motion.
Commissioner Adam.
Thank you. Well, I must say, every time I visit California Lutheran University, I'm just struck by how beautifully it has been developed. I mean, it's really been developed with the spirit of Thousand Oaks in mind. Open vistas, mountains in the background. It's beautifully done. Low profile. You know, it's just a pleasure to go to, and I think the stadium is designed with all that in mind, and it's very well needed, very much needed. I think the university's done a good job in the last couple of years of opening the dialogue with the neighbors. You know, as far as the intersection goes, whether it's going to be the speed bump or the four-way stop or the light synchronization or an officer at the intersection during the first game, which I think would be a good way to go. The traffic study. I mean, the university's there; they're open to the dialogue, and I think that they're on it. And as far as University Village, it sounds to me like the quarterly reviews that they're doing would, in my mind, suffice as far as as a review on the stadium as well. And the fact that you're meeting with them quarterly, I think, is exemplary, and I think any concerns about the stadium could be addressed at these quarterly meetings. And I would be reluctant to condition the university anymore as far as the traffic regulation. I'm glad that they've offered to place a deputy there that first night, and if it turns out to be a problem, we can take it from there. But I think that's fine with that step there. And I'd just like to thank, as my fellow commissioner did, Mr. Rowland, for your very generous donation of not only the money to build the stadium, but you stocked the art museum as well. It's fantastic. Yeah. That's just, I'm lost for words. It's just a wonderful gift to the community, so thank you for that. And obviously I'm going to support the motion, and thank you again.
I, too, am going to be supporting the motion this evening. And for all of the many fine comments that have been made by all of the planning commissioners, by those that have testified this evening. Sports are a critical part of, I think, the growth and maturation of young minds. They teach character-building skills. One speaker talked about the leadership qualities that come from having these opportunities. And so I'm very thankful that Cal Lutheran University is supporting having sports as part of their program at the school. I'd like to do an appreciation to city staff for putting together some excellent reports. I don't think the public realizes how much work they put into this, but I can certainly tell you that my 11-year-old son was making it a sport, using a pun there, to figure out how much paperwork was coming to my house, and I will tell you that it was a total of 43 pounds worth of papers and reports that came on this particular project. So they need to be commended for that. I'd also like to thank Cal Lutheran University for cooperating with city staff and also cooperating with the community and their neighbors and being a good neighbor, and encourage them to continue doing that. Are there any final comments that you'd like to make, Commissioner Lund?
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you.
If not, could we vote, please?
Motion passed 4-0.
Any aggrieved party who wishes to appeal the Planning Commission's decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 days. Mr. Shepard, is there any Community Development Department referrals and/or reports?
Just a follow-up on the upcoming City Council meetings. You have the information in your packet, the Municipal Service Center expansion, which this body reviewed on May 10th. The City Council approved the project on June 8th, and the Los Robles Hospital project is currently scheduled for a public hearing before the City Council on July 13th. Upcoming Planning Commission meetings, you'll be busy next week. Your next regularly scheduled meeting is on the 20th of June. We have two items coming up that evening. Both are, yes, it was a special meeting this week. So you have another meeting next week. There are two items. Both are first and second story room additions to existing single-family residences. We have no items scheduled for the July 12th regularly scheduled meeting, and on July 26th there is a couple items, actually one project. This is the city as the applicant for this project on the 26th that involves the Newberry Park Library within the parking lot, some installation of solar panels proposed, and then you go into your August recess. And that concludes discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. Commissioner Reynolds, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 24th?
Move approval of the minutes of May 24th, 2010.
Could we vote, please? Are there any AB 1234 reports?
Motion passed.
Oh, sorry.
3-0 with Commissioner Lund abstaining.
Any AB 1234 reports? Is there any commissioner comments? Commissioner Reynolds?
I just wanted to quickly say that I took advantage of the American Planning Association's, the Citizens Planning Academy that Marilyn Miller put on. It was an 8-week class. I graduated a few weeks ago, and even though I was a county planning commissioner for 8 years and I've been on this, 5.5 years, I learned from that. It was really well worth it. It was $50. They fed us before every single meeting. It was up at CLU. We just used the classroom up at Oxnard. But if anyone else has the opportunity to do it, if they offer it again, I would really strongly support you attending. It was well worth the time that I spent up there.
Thank you. Is there any other additional comments? Commissioner Lund? Adam.
Just a real quick one on the minutes. I just want to commend the staff. If the commissioners probably recall that we asked about when the Los Robos Hospital was heard about the master plan, and we wanted to be concurrent, and there was a lot of language being thrown back and forth. But as I read the way it was written here, they nailed it. Got it perfect. It's going to be concurrent. They listed a couple of the projects to be looked at, and they said that the neighbors will be solicited during preparation of the plan. So you got it just right. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will adjourn back for our next meeting, which will be on June 28th, next Monday evening. Thank you and good evening.